Hiya, 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 hiya. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I hope you've been having a good day. I've been having a good day. But let's get down with it. Today's stream, we're going to talk about how to network with other creators, and it's going to be some fun. So there's our title card. Let's just knock that off there, and we'll talk about today's page in a second. My name is Christopher Runsman. Welcome to the One Page Story Extravaganza podcast. I get inspired by suggestions or ideas for one-page stories that come my way. I produce at least one finished one-page story every day, and it's a lot of fun. I have a great time doing it. I hope you enjoy it. Jim Luman says, "I'm the earliest man alive." Welcome aboard, Jim. This is today's. This is the page from yesterday. Okay, that I posted today, and this is usually what I do. I get a suggestion from either the book or from somebody right then and there, and I immediately work on our page. I don't preface anything, no research in advance or anything like that. It's just go for it. So this is yesterday's suggestion, which is 3 words out of a prompt bag, and those 3 words were beetle, trains, and hourglass. And so this is whatever I came up with. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy either a sentence or 2 for a suggestion, but I also enjoy just 3 random words because you can get some really interesting ideas to pop in your head from that. So that's a lot of fun. I post all the originals on my Patreon page, which is Christopher Runsman, RUNCIMAN, and on Patreon. And you can see the original work and what goes into it in a finished form, because I show the process along the way while I'm on the stream here. But I post the finished originals there, and with the page itself. So a little description about it. It's $3 a month Canadian, so it's a bag of salt in other parts of the world. I got nothing. But if you can, make sure that you've subscribed and like this video, and tell all your friends. Tell the whole bunch. And don't forget to click on the notification so you can find out whenever I'm going to be doing this. All right. So that's that. Let's get on with today's page. My wife laughs at me because I turn around and I'll step off camera for a second to grab something. She thinks it's very silly. She's right. But that's how I get the book. I can't have everything right here. She also thinks it's funny when I use a blow dryer. In fact, it's her blow dryer while I'm working on stuff, which I'm going to do in a second. Because in fact, just this is for Lori and any of our people that are watching that are fans of ASMR. Here we go. There's today's page, and here comes the blow dryer. So much fun. That was for Lori. Okay, so I did a wash on this page beforehand because I already did a green thing the other day, so I thought I'd do a wash with some yellow or something at the last second just before we started. And I realize now that it's not too much different from the green, so I'm not going to use it. But got to use the blow dryer, and that's a lot of fun. So okay. So we've got some fun suggestions that have come in lately, but today's suggestion of the page that was finished for today, of beetle, hourglass, and trains, was enjoyable. And thank you to Dee Dee Willingham on her stream, who has this bag of prompts that she pulls for anybody that asks her. So that was good. The day before that, we did a superhero with the powers of bad anatomy, Mr. Anatomy, in fact. So that was great. Who'll back you in a fight was this week as well. And there's I think I can't remember if drawing conspiracies and reading chickens was this week or not. But it's been an interesting week. Monday was 3 pages. Tuesday was 2 pages. Wednesday was a page. Yesterday was a page. Or today was a page. I'm so sorry. And yeah, here we are, still rolling along. Some fun suggestions have come in, though. Strip about being an original artist, but drawn in someone else's style, including sound effects. Cat Zen Garden with rake. Could the owner of a license plate, blank, 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 please come to the front desk? That could go so desperately wrong. But we're going to keep that out. Last night we were on I was on Jim Luhan's stream. Hey man, how's your movie going? Is the stream that he has going right now on his channel, JIMLUJAN, where we talked about his current project. He's working on an animated film, and I'm doing some voice stuff with him. So that was a lot of fun. And thank you very much, Jim, for having me on. He was the earliest man alive today, first person here. So I'm not sure if he's still here or not. I don't pay attention to numbers. I just pay attention when people try to, say things and try to get involved in the conversation. And I'm a big proponent of that. So as long as it's about the conversation and not about whatever other stuff going on. Okay, so we still got some outstanding stuff to finish. I really got a kick out of this one, so I've got it on the top of the pile. But we've got one more 500 years from now that's left to do, and I plan on doing it tomorrow. The 500 years from now, I've done a number of those for anybody that's been following the stream. 500 years from now, scientists will come to understand the Luan-verse. 500 years from now, scientists will discover what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Science will convince people that rocks are cool, that the Kremlin will take over the world. This is in relationship to a person who named Joshua Campbell, whose people that follow a stream are called the Kremlin. They didn't take over the world. It's also a reference to how he's very much interested in playing Risk, so it has a Risk connotation to it too. Scientists have discovered the gnome genome, and the last. Oh, and then Elvis gets resurrected in one of the 500 years from now as well. So the last thing to do is Earth will be flooded with a diverse amount of creatures that scientists will think is a good idea to bring back, all of which will be useless. So that's the one we'll be doing tomorrow. I think that doing could the owner of license plate blank please come to the front desk could be a fun one to do today. So I'm going to take a look at that in 2 seconds. Unless something else pops out in my head. Because there's just so many things, and I don't want to leave anything hanging for too long. So, and if I do that, if you suggested an idea that I haven't got to yet, please let me know, and I will kick that up in the pile, because there are, there's only so many notes that I can keep track of at one given time, and if I forgot to write it in a book and it's still stuck on a post-it, I don't mean anything by it, but it happens. So we do our best. I'm not finding anything now, so I think that we'll try this one out. As always, though, if you've got a one-page story idea, if you've got a suggestion of just this could be a random comic, if you've got 3 words that come to mind and think, hey, see if you can do something with this, as long as we keep it family friendly, everybody. There's a million things that can be done with a short story, and so the whole point of doing this is to push myself farther and farther creatively by trying new things and not staying away from ideas, not negating an idea because of its abstraction and from a creative perspective, I mean, there's so many things that are available in story, and story doesn't have to be the epic tale of, the the hero's myth, the farm boy that is slated for something greater, and he's actually somebody far more important than we think in the simple farm boy aesthetic. It turns out to be the hero of the world and the savior of mankind, and so on and so forth. Those stories are great. I mean, that's what gives us The Hobbit. That's what gives us Star Wars. That's what gives us, The Last Dragon Slayer. Everything like that, But there is something to be said for general story, general interest, a weird notion, a weird paradigm or universe. Just the interest of a moment to say that, giant beetle could have at one point in history taken to racing trains as they drive through the prairies, which is what the page posted today is about. Does it make sense by comparison to the epic tale? Well, it's not going to have the same scope or interest, but it still is a story, and you still have to take a confined amount of space and try to come up with some kind of structural narrative that has some sort of resolve. And that's the heart of the matter. Now I got the Beatles going through my head. Or not the Beatles, the Eagles. There we go. So with today's story, could the owner of a license plate XXX, and we'll figure out what the license plate is, please come to the front desk, as a suggestion, opens up an opportunity. And usually what I say is, by drawing the first panel, by kicking out a first panel, and whether I'm working at 8.5 by 11 heavy grade cardstock, or whether I'm working on an 11 by 17 piece of paper like I did yesterday, they take the same amount of time, they take the same amount of investment, and you're still telling the same amount of limited story in a space. Now, this week I've done a 2-page story and a 3-page story, but that's largely because of pacing. It doesn't have the same thing to do. There's an expedited sense of pacing on a single page. When you're doing a 2-page piece or a 3-page piece, you can stretch that out, because how it works is panels in their groupings on, or images in their groupings on a page denote time. So if you want to stretch out the time, stretch out, the larger panel takes more time, and it makes the time move along slower. And then you've taken it to a second or a third page, still the same amount of volume, still the same amount of story. It's just you've managed to stretch the structure, the context of it, just so that you can give something a little more. I don't do it often. This week, the fact that I've done 2 of them is a rarity, an incredible rarity. I've never done that before. But in total, the reason that we're on page, this is page 160 officially, but in actuality, we're on page 178. And that's because I'll let these little longer excursions go. The rule still stands that it needs to be at least a page a day. And it still stands that these things need to be done in a 24-hour period. I've won the record for the duration of this since the start of the year in this format is 6 pages in one day. But that's where I had my 2 oldest grandkids sitting in the studio with me for a day that they had off for professional development or whatever they call it for schools. And we knocked out enough material to assemble as a 6-page epic story. And the kids devising the title themselves, which was "The Day the Martians Plotted to Destroy the Earth but Failed Miserably." So things like that are fun, Okay, so we're going to get started here. The suggestion for today is, could the owner of license plate #XXXX please come to the front desk. So let's go. The front desk, right? Like a concierge desk. Let's start there with that. So whenever you're at a hotel or someplace like that, there is the desk that you check in at, and the person behind that desk, which helps you sign in, and here's your keys to your room. And if there's any problems, please call down. And do you need somebody taking up your bags if it's a fancy schmancy place? And here's a list of where things are and nearby, or here's the services that we offer, or external services that you can access that are related to your stay here. All of that information is found at the concierge desk in a hotelry, right? There's also the front desk at an airport or something like that, where you're going to sign in for your flights. But they tend to be called something else. The front desk generally is in a reference to a hotel. Why is it called a front desk, Christopher? Man, am I glad you asked that. Because it's at the front of the hotel. That's right, you're getting the hard hits here, the big key pieces of information that will make your life better. And how will they make my life better, Chris? Enough of the questions already. So I'm drawing with a Mastercraft pencil. This is a pencil that you use when you've got your tape measure out, you're measuring pieces of wood. This is the pencil that a lot of carpenters tend to use when they're marking the wood for framing or for whatever else it is that they're using that on. And, very effective pencils. They do the job. There's a great benefit to be able to try different tools. And so a lot of examples that you'll see me doing here on the stream is yesterday's page was drawn in pencil crayon, marker, ink, like wet ink, And so today I can't do that. I have to do something different. Just because that's fun. That's another additional aspect of the challenge of it, is that it keeps me having to use different medium. And I kind of like these sorts of things. I'm getting a ruler out. One of the people that watches the stream here, Janet, should be very excited that I've got a ruler, because she really likes rulers. Now, this might be a conspiracy theory. It might not be, but I think she has heavy amounts of investment in the ruler industry, and that's why she advocates them so much. That, or she just likes straight lines, Something I'm not overly particular on is everything having to be beautifully straight. So, but yeah, that's my conspiracy for today. Missing stuff in my. I'm the earliest man alive. I got that. Oh, peekaboo! Hi, Riri. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. As usual, the earliest man alive, but you're alive, Jim. Riri says to Jim. That's true. Okay, so I'm drawing the bell in the foreground. That's how we're introducing our scene for the owner of license plate XXX. Please come to the front desk. So we're going to start with the first thing that most people notice when you walk up to a front desk is the bell. If the bell's in a prominent place, at the very least. But usually, if there's a bell sitting there on the counter, as much as you look at the person behind the counter, you're looking at the bell, because whether or not they're there, just the existence of a bell on the counter makes a person consider, even if it's just for a microsecond, of ringing that bell. It's this fantastic, weird thing we have is see a thing, many people want to touch said thing. It's specifically in the context of stuff like bells and so on and so forth. So that's, you got to put that out there first. Sort of identifiably establishes a level here. It's a topic I put up for today, is in context to what I was doing last night. So Christopher says, and then has to remind himself what the topic is. I don't. I just want to know the specific language of it. So the idea of how to network with other creators, and by networking I mean engage and interact, and hey, here's what I do, and seeing what they do, and in many cases there's interesting dynamics that form, like they show you material that you might not have considered, or techniques that you might not have thought about. And so I was thinking about this. How can people help each other, and how to network, how to engage with other creative people, how to reach out to a larger community beyond your weird, potentially weird, potentially isolated self, sitting alone in your studio working on XYZ for ABC amount of time, all on your little old lonesome, and sitting there staring listfully out the window, occasionally saying, boy, oh boy, I wish I was out there skipping rope, or whatever it is that goes to your head, with a friend. So networking with other people is a really healthy and important thing. But it has to be an honest thing, I think. I have come across, I did some videos last year in 2022. And my stream at the time was called Nobody Wants to Listen to My Podcast. And then at the start of this year, I started streaming regularly. And which is now, it's just universal that I stream Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not saying that's how it's always going to be. I'm just saying that's what we're doing now. And I changed the name of the podcast to Everybody Wants to Listen to My Podcast. So we did 100, I think 15 or 120 something roughly in there episodes. And then the realization is that because enough people are recognizing the one-page story approach that I take to on a daily basis, we should just call it that. So that's why the stream is the one-page story Extravaganza. So now we're on episode 127 this year. The reason that I'm going through all this is that when I started doing the streaming, I had 16 people that had signed up to the YouTube, and I thought, oh, that's great, 16 people, that's cool. Now, looking at other people's sites and going, this person has 1.2 million people, or whatever it is, it's completely pointless I don't want to play that game, and it's completely pointless to compare oneself to Bob or Betty Smiley over there that have X amount of people following them. That's great for them, and I'm glad for them, and whatever it is that they're doing, and whatever it is that motivates them to do so. My going on and streaming isn't to become a cult leader. They got other plans for that. No, the reason that I come on and do the streaming is really because I just want to engage with people. Like it's a healthy thing to step outside of my own skin on a daily basis and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. And if you want to interact with what I'm doing, please do so. And to encourage and invite others to escape the doldrum of their day by suggesting weird random thing, and I'll draw a weird random thing. It all started at the start of the virus, and knowing that many of the people that the job that I was working at served were somewhat isolated individuals, and maybe it would benefit them to have something to occupy them during a really lousy time where governments were telling people to stay inside their homes and to miss out on living with their loved ones and so on and so forth. Now, not making any political statement whatsoever about the virus, because I don't care. there was an awful lot of people affected by that for their mental health and their mental wellness. So the reason that I said, hey, you suggest a one-page idea and I'll do it, was in order to engage with said people so that they could feel connected to the larger world around them. And it just has grown and stuff. So the reason that we put out the first book last year of these things, which is one-page comic extravaganza. The reason it's called comic extravaganza is because it's in this upright portrait format. And it's comic. It's a comic book in different medium and so on and so forth, but it's still comic format. The reason that the new book that's coming out this year will be called One-Page Story Extravaganza is because it's in a different format. And I'm trying to push the application of sequential media. I'm trying to push the storytelling approaches and what it is that we're doing here. So that's why it's not called comic anymore. The new book will be called Story Extravaganza. And not to say I won't ever go back to a portrait format or try things like that again, but for the most part, I think it's very limiting. And the reason that I find it very limiting is it catches me into a niche where I'm competing in one or another rather limiting markets, in my opinion. You know, even though I'm doing sequential work and stuff that, you know, people would reduce down to the comic format, and they wouldn't be wrong. As an independent, to sit on that shelf, you sort of need to fit into some kind of niche on that shelf. And the unfortunate reality is that bookstores and more specifically comic stores really have to categorize you amongst type. And I don't know what type this is because I'm doing whatever story I feel like in the moment. And I tend not to draw people superheroes. And it's only because I don't get a lot of suggestions for superheroes because I won't draw licensed characters. So one-page story extravaganza leaves me open to larger accessibility to allowing whoever it is that's marketing this in whatever way to do it wherever and however they want within their purview. So that's the reason for the little name difference. I've met a lot of cool people on here, and this is the part that connects what I'm doing to the larger world out there, is that by allowing it to doing the streams and allowing it to facilitate the opportunity to meet other creators and to, you know, be open and receptive to engagement and interaction, and to see what things people are doing. It's allowed me to meet a great deal of people, and many the people that will comment on here, like Riri or Jim today. It's a real blessing to be able to meet these people and to interact with them. And to any of you, really, the majority of you that are watching this are probably creators that I've had the affordance of opportunity to meet. And I'm very much appreciative of that. That to me is the network that I'm interested in. Now, bearing in mind, stepping out into an international format with the new book by working with a large publisher means I have to learn how to do the other kind of networking, or the schmoozing, or the big solicitation interviews, or trying to get to different places to take a look at the book in order to get those places to, you know, help me promote the book and get people interested in it. And to me, that feels strange because it's something that I've never done really before. And so, which is something that I'm going to have to get over. Because in order to make the outputs that I do have some modicum of success by getting the people to see them and to come and engage with them, I'm going to have to go out and talk with others about them. So whether I'm keen as a jelly bean to do so or not doesn't matter. It's simply as is. Now, I find it really... I've had a number of people contact me with specifically the intent to just come on. I just want to come on your stream and talk about my book. I'm not that kind of a stream. And if they had taken notice or paid attention to the stream for 5 minutes, they'd have known that. If it's people who I've come to know and I like what they're doing, and I want to have you on and let's chat, let's talk about creating. That's important. Let's talk about journey and output and discipline and expression and story writing and all of those, bits that go into what we do. But, I'm not interested in the person that doesn't reach out for anything other than, hey, hawk my book, because they clearly don't care about what I'm doing here. And so I'm really trying to look into legitimately connecting to people that are specifically, if it's people that just solicit other books, then that's fine. I mean, what research, how much research is really necessary, because that's specifically what they do. And how do we connect on that front? But I still want to watch a bunch of their things to see that it's somebody I want to talk about. If it's a show that, we're going to talk about this beep, 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 for the whole show, I don't want to do that either. Jim has asked me how many hours did I end up sleeping last night. I went to bed at 2, and I got up this morning at, I think it was 6:45. So, and that's a good night for me. So, how many hours did you end up sleeping last night, Jim? It's a fun question. It's because I was on Jim's thing last night. That's why he's asking. Yeah, so I think that there's a challenge in networking for individuals to recognize when they're taking part in a marketing machine and these websites that just talk about other people's productivity. Jim slept 63 hours or 36 hours last night. That is a healthy amount of sleep for one evening. I think that because the typical day is 12, of the typical night of sleep is maximized at 12 hours of a 24-hour day. 36 hours is... I'm having a hard time believing that. I'm not saying you're lying. I just don't think that you slept 36 hours last night when I talked to you about 13 hours ago. So I think that you might be stretching the truth a little bit. I'm not saying you're fibbing. That's a strong word, fibbing. That means to fib, which is synonymous with something else. To believe, to stretch the truth. So, you're stretching. Hey, it's Janet. Hi, Janet. Welcome aboard. For those that are joining us, just at least joining into the chat, today's page is, could the owner of car license plate, blank, 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 please come to the front desk. So, I'm drawing our concierge. Putting some stripes in his tie just to make it a little more interesting than a straight old flat black. And then we'll put a nice cut on his suit. So we're talking about the idea of, whoops, I'm sorry, I left that up. We're talking about the idea of how to go about networking. And what I'm referring to is how to network authentically, or how to network specifically with marketing as your intent. I think that there's a place for both. I think that networking in the sense of reaching out and connecting with and talking to marketing avenues or channels that are specifically just about talking about indie products or indie projects and things like that. That's viable. Or if you're on each of your friends' sites and you're just talking about, hey, he's doing a new thing and I'm doing a new thing, that's viable too. But reaching out and contacting other creators that you don't know from Adam and not actually engaging with what they do and just saying, hi, I'm ready to talk about my new thing. I don't know who you are. That's a little unfair and a little inauthentic. And I'm going to say something terrible and confronting in a second about that. This topic is a perfect segue to a book I always recommend. It's called Never Eat Alone. The Cheese Sallies Forth. It's a fantastic novel about stepping out with others to dine. I find that the majority of people that do this out there, hacking their business. I think that am I missing things here? What have we got? Jim, Riri, Janet, and he says hi Keith and Farazi. I don't know who those are. Holy, I've been doing it wrong all these years. I thought I wasn't supposed to drink alone. Well, I'm glad you're not doing that either. The book is about networking in a genuine way with being fake. It's also about conquering fears. Is this a real book? Is Never Eat Alone a real book? Alone in the Bars. Wink. Jim. It's a way to drum up business. Wait a minute. Yeah. I mean networking with people at conferences. I'm interested in that. If there's a real book called Never Eat Alone and conquer fears and talk to people that you, what is it? Networking in a genuine way without being fake and conquering fears. Yeah, I'm going to write it down. Never Eat Alone. Here's another three-word title that includes the word never. It's a Never Cry Wolf. It's about eating mice in a shed. Sorry. Yeah, I'll check that out. It's on the Post-it. So so here's the controversial part, because you know it's coming. I find that the people that I notice that really do the whole just contacting others randomly to promote their product, as you know, instead of, hey, here's what I'm doing. What are you doing? Engagement. They do the, hey, here's my product. Help me hack it or hawk it. You know, I tend to find that those are Keith Farazi. I'm writing it down. He said hi, Keith Farazi, so I wasn't sure if you didn't get enough sleep last night, Jim. I find that it's writers that do this whole check out my new thing, and I don't understand that about specifically writers in a visual industry that are check out my thing, and I tend to lean towards a visual market being primarily an artist thing, and writers are better at marketing, and I think it may or may not have something to do with the fact that artists are busy with the making. I've known some really, really talented writers. I've had a real fortune in being able to meet many. There's a piece up on the wall in the studio here from Man of Action Studios, and it's a comic page drawn by Duncan Rouleau, Steven R. Single, Joe Casey, and Andrew Kelly, which is that's who that studio is, and myself. So it's kind of fun, right, to have been able to meet and do a sequential story with writers at a table. But I think that puts more stock into their talent and their ability that they have a knowledge of making actual visual pages over just writing them. So I'm really impressed by those guys, and not only that, but they're all very talented. And of course, Duncan Rouleau is an absolutely amazing artist, but they're also very talented and amazing writers. But I find that the people that are really good at that marketing, those marketing techniques, tend to be writers over artists. because they just have a better take on it. They just have a better take on the secondary part. Now, we all need to have that, but I still don't change my stance on application to how we network and how we interact and engage. I still think that it's absolutely important to be courteous and respectful to the endeavors of whoever it is that you're reaching out to. A, but B, I can't, again, like I did at the start of this conversation, express how fortunate it is to meet many of the people that I've met through this stream. That's a blessing. That's a gift to find yourself connecting to individuals that you may well not have conversed with before, even though you're very much the same interests and very much the same headspace and perspective on stories. And is this dying? Is this a pointless endeavor? Let's try this end. Whoa, we got some life over here, Billy. It's nice, and it's very much a gift to be able to have engagement and conversations with other people that are interested in doing the same sort of thing that you're doing. And I can't say for a moment that I regret stepping into this world, because I really appreciate that opportunity to meet all those people, including Jim Lewin. Not to just point Jim out. I'm joking. Clearly, I'm joking. Jim's a great person. No, I can't help myself sometimes. I've got to kick in this silly. So I think, honestly, if you're doing something new and you're starting to exhibit stuff that you've drawn, and whatever statement or determination you make about your own specific measure of talent or not, allow yourself the chance to reach out, to meet, to engage with other people doing similar things to your own interest, similar forays into expression and the journey of making, because it's amazing how rewarding it can be. It really is. And you're going to come across different personalities. You're going to come across different approaches to things. You're going to come across some strange differences than you have. That's to be expected. But even if it is expected, you're who you are, and you're going to be straightforward and honest, and ideally they are too. And the ones that aren't, you're not going to have around long, because you have more sense in that. But what a chance, right? What a chance to meet cool people that they're doing the same weirdness that you're doing. So don't deny yourself that. Give yourself that opportunity. Give yourself that chance. And don't be afraid to promote yourself openly as who you are either, right? I am what my wife told me a term that I didn't know before, and I think it applies very much to me. I am at times rough around the edges, and but I'm me, right? This is what you get. And that's the thing I like about this networking business, is I like to get to know people for who they are. We might not become best friends, and this isn't as much as networking is fun to engage with like others, and to get to know them and get to interact with them. You're not expected to change your entire lifestyle and world view to fit in everybody all the time. You know, you're going to meet people that, you know, okay, it's nice to meet you, but we're not tattooing each other's names on our hips, you know. Extreme example. But you will meet people that, and again, like I say, I feel really lucky. I've met a lot that I really do like. I get I genuinely enjoy catching up with people and tying in. That's why I always offer everybody that's at the stream here, hey, what are you working on? Let people know. You know, I'm not inviting people to dialogue about whatever other nonsense. And really, you know, you've got your own platform or thing to do that by. But I think it's important that we have some awareness of what each other are doing, because there may be somebody who goes, hey, I know, you know, a way to go and promote that, or to maximize whatever that is for yourself. So do so. Be who you are. Be honest. The pens that I've been using here is a couple of Fudenosuke pens. Is how I'm probably terribly mispronouncing that. I really enjoy these. What are they? What's the specific name? Water-based pigment soft tip Fudenosuke brush pen from Tombow. The black is the soft tip. There's a dark blue that is a harder tip than this. You can buy them in 2-packs. I highly recommend these. Tombow also has the larger line of, I'll show you, of brush pens. That's like this size. And, you know, they're great, but these are greater, right? So I tend to, if I got to do black and white line art, this is what I tend to be using these days. That or good old ballpoint pens. And for those, I tend to prefer paper mate. Just that's, I don't know, just the ones I like. I can't speak to how they compare against other pens because I haven't used other pens in a long time. It's paper mate for me. So when I offer the opportunity, anyways, on the stream here for people to ask questions and to say, you know, here's the thing I'm doing. Feel free to engage in that. Feel free to take part in that. If it has to do with whatever other extraneous things you got going on, you know, unless we're talking about that, I don't think that's necessary. But, you know, there are often times when we talk about whatever we want here, and that's great. I think I'm free with happy with that, because I have been known to be called a silly person. I know. I find it hard to believe myself, and I never lie. I think that went over well. Anyhow, yeah, I want people to feel free to speak. Hey, I really hate crayons, and here's why. I've learned a lot on this stream already this year. Like, I didn't realize that American people call pencil crayons colored pencils, and I've learned that now. And I'm so sorry. Yeah. And I got to witness a great deal of things. I've learned about all kinds of fun opportunities to try different things, like the Pantone Challenge is a fun one for you to look into. And I hope that some of the things that I'm doing here, there might be some whatever weird applications I do on stuff, or whatever weird approaches to mark making that I do, like, yeah, today's is very different than yesterday's. But maybe there's something that somebody's going to get out of it that they say, hey, that tickles me funny. I like very much. Yes, maybe I shall endeavor to do so myself. But like I say, feel free to ask questions like, hey, why'd you draw that way? Huh? Why are you drawing some weird dude at the desk? How come you did them lines in black but the other lines in gray? What's with that smudgy ink thing you did? Why even spend that much time drawing in pencil? These are all interesting things, which we'll deal with on a next episode of, I don't know, I just like coloring. So, there's no right or wrong answers in exploring creativity. There is no, you specifically have to use these tools, and you specifically have to do things this way. You probably have heard me say that if you have watched previous streams here. You have probably heard me say that, and you're going to hear me say it again, because I firmly believe that. I hate rules that people think we all have to adhere to. We're not in school anymore, and we're not kids anymore. We are in the school of life. And there's no authorities in the school of life other than the kicking that life itself can swing your way. So have some fun, make a mess, explore your creative outputs, find new and cool, crazy kids just like yourself, or as best as you can approximate, because let's be honest, some of us are weird. And say something. People are interested in what you have to say. It might not be evident to you immediately. Well, I've been doing this for 3 years and I've only got 8 people that are subscribing and none of them watch. But that one person that occasionally watches your thing, you fill their tank with happy joy for unmeasured amounts of time that they very much appreciate. That's who your audience is. I think that there's a person in Bangladesh, and occasionally they can tune in whatever I'm doing here intermittently every couple of weeks, and while she holds the antenna with her toes and leans forward when turning the dial on the television set in order to get in whatever it is that we're doing here, that's important, and I appreciate that very much. So here's to you. There's somebody that's out there looking for your work. You have an audience. Everyone has an audience. It's just a matter of finding it. And if your favorite fan on the entire planet happens to be your mom, Keen, your mom's swell. And for those of you that are going to tell me immediately, hey, my mom passed away that for some other years, I'm just, okay. Insert some other person's name. Some other person that, might know you for a long time or be family or friend or whatever it is. They like what you're doing. And there are more people similar to them out there. And eventually you'll find them. But keep doing what you're doing, because more important than who it is that you're reaching out to and connecting with, it's an important part of who you are that you're doing what you're doing. We don't all find our purpose. We don't. And when we can find something that makes us feel a little bit fulfilled, that's wonderful. Is it life's objective to find that fulfillment? Maybe not. I think it's more important that you live in the moment than pursue an objective. But if you can find something that makes an engagement with other people that make you go, hey, these are good feelings inside my tum-tum, then do those things, right? These are all scientific terms, by the way. Tum-tum, it's scientific. But if you can find those opportunities, if you can find those individuals that like-mindedness or or people whose work you respect and appreciate and enjoy that they're doing what they're doing and that they're courteous to you. Make sure that and that they have some appreciation or enjoyment of what you do. You will form connections to people that you would be surprised would happen otherwise. Look at all the ruler action that's happening today. This is for you, Janet. I've sharpened pencils for Rachel. I've been using a ruler for Janet. I care about the people that tune in here. I haven't even said anything really mean and rude to Jim yet. And I mean, at all. You'll find that you're going to attract people that have a similar sense of humor, and thank goodness for that. Because, some of our humor is weird. So that's great. That's a gift too. And in any of these avenues, in any of these pursuits that you're after in your own journey, to connect to other people that are similar in some regard to that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Good. Yummy. Yummy. That's the word I'm going to use. Yummy. But be you. Always be you. Always worry about what you're working on and not what the next person's working on. If you see something they like and you're like, hey, I want to try something like that. And they go, cool. Great. And if they don't, what are you talking to that person for? They're way too neurotic. Yeah, let's check the cat cam. I set up my cat cam, and since I did so, none of the cats have been sitting in here while I'm doing my stream. They're all up visiting my wife in her office because she's so much better now. No, it's nice out there. It's got nice windows, and I like to sit in them. They're cats. That, and she is great. So, but last night Corbin was on the cat cam when I was on Jim's stream. And so for those of you that tuned in Jim's stream last night, or for those of you that now check out the video of the two of us talking about his new animated film, The Full Fungus, you will see cat cam at work. And so rewarding was that for me. That was so rewarding. I had cats here all the time, constantly. And when I set up a camera for them, they're like, nah, nice try, guy. We're out. We're out. Forget it. I know what you're trying to do. We're not going to be used like that. Oh, we've got Jane joining us here. Hi, Jane. Welcome aboard. We're just talking about ungrateful kitties, as Jane has put it. Oh, Jim says, Janet, rules. Literally rules. You get it, Janet? Rules. Yeah. Figuratively, literally, rules. Jim, however, rocks, and that breaks a lot of windows, but it's very cool. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible jokes that come out of my yapper. Welcome aboard, Jane. Hope you're having a great day. Hope everybody else is having a great day, too. And that my mole-pulling perambulations aren't causing any discernment to anyone. Overly thinking about too much stuff? Huh? Too illuminating? Wait a minute. I've been doing it all wrong. I kick open doors and shout, get to know my books. That doesn't work. No. I'm being silly. Janet rules. Ungrateful kitties. It's this sort of fits in the suit with what I've been yammering about, and that is take hold of those chances. Sorry. To meet interesting new people. Take hold of those opportunities to find like minds. And which has just made half the people that might watch this stream openly weep. I don't want to have a similar mind to Christopher. Well, too late. You do. Deal with it. See, I like this one. This is a fun one. Just put those extra pinches. I got that light gray that's moving through here. I'll hold it up a little bit. And, oh, I've got cat cam kicking up on the screen still. I'm so sorry. Pointless cat cam. Anyways, so here is the light gray that you can see I've put through the coat. And now we're adding this secondary gray. And we're joined by, I'm trying to keep up the stream, folks. I'm trying. Gary. Hey, Gary. Welcome aboard. So any of the people, again, and I say this regularly, and I'm going to continue to do so. So any of the names that you see that are joining us and having these dialogues in the stream, I really do recommend you go and check out. I appreciate very much when you've got maybe you got notifications on to figure out when I'm appearing, which is always the same time every day. But I appreciate people that are subscribing here, and I appreciate the thumbs up. See, but I really appreciate the opportunity that you have from some of the cool cats and kitty cats or whatever that are engaging in the stream here. Go look at what they're doing. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening. Gary says, as soon as this wraps up, we'll be catching up with, hey man, how's your movie going? And Jim says, nice, because that's Jim's show. I think that that's great. That's awesome, Gary. And I'm just going to apologize now for all the terrible things that Jim says about you. I can't even finish saying that with a straight face. But yeah, please go and check out what's being done by other people. There's a funny thing that is happening. I find that a lot of the connections and engagements that I'm making with people aren't people doing the same thing I'm doing. It's people that have other similar creative endeavors, but in very different forms or styles or materials. And I think that's awesome. I really do. I'm a big fan of creative expression. I'm not just a big fan of specifically doing the same thing I'm doing. And I really like when people have found their own niche and are pursuing that. And I get to witness that. It's so nice. And it's such a thing to share. And I appreciate everybody that does that. But I've been noticing that many of the people that I'm connecting with are, a lot of people do photography, and a lot of people that do textile art, like knitting and stitch work, and it's so cool. That's great. It really is great to me, because there's things that I don't have, let alone capability in, but I don't have an awful lot of exposure and knowledge to, and so being able to see those things and to have a larger understanding of some of those practices is kind of a cool gift. And so it feeds into, you never know who you're going to meet, and networking in every honesty of being who you are. Can you do that apology? Riri says, Jane, I IG'd you a clip. Can you do that apology, but in Paul Lynn's voice? Yes, I can. But I'm not going to. Paul Lynn's voice? Really? Paul Lynn? Oh, that's a relevant reference. It's very modern. I only get asked to do impressions of people that probably haven't had big social careers in X amount of years. But if you haven't heard Jim Lilland's Bono, you haven't lived. You haven't lived. Yeah, and I'm very thankful, by the way, for those being the voices I'm asked to do impressions of, because it's given me enough time to try. Hey, do a Taylor Swift impression. Is never going to happen. I'd have to put on my glasses to do a proper Paul Lynde. So this is our little image of the concierge here is almost wrapped up. Now my initial intention was to just focus on the bell and the suit, but leave no neck on that person. But I just got carried away. It's not to say that in the final structuring of the page, I'm not going to omit this person's head, because I'm a monster. Because really what the focus I need to be is on the bell and the body. And, drawing this guy's head from this perspective is not necessarily emphasizing enough. I find it because it's a smaller image. Sorry, it was covered by the streamer thing, I think, so I apologize for that. But you streamer, it's really small. You can't get much expression in the face this way. So, we'll try to do this a little bit better. Okay, so let's step into our second panel. Not really concerned about the overlap because you can chop and edit in the media platform that I use for lettering my pages. I'll just here just to fill out so we got a nice clean line of break. Okay, here says she started. Okay, yeah. I get sent some fun things by people, I really do. I'm not one for opening up a lot of memes, but I've been sent some really ridiculously silly things lately, and thank you very much for that. One of the funniest things that I got recently is someone sent me an image that has a description. Like there used to be a thing called TV Guide or TV Times in different places, right? TV Guide was where it would actually list what the show is and say what's coming on. And when it used to be X amount of channels that you would get through your rotary dial or your punch box. Before we had a million different streaming services and a million different channels. You could find out what show was on, and it would say, All in the Family, and this episode, Archie does this. So one of the funniest things I heard recently was a description of Star Wars was an angry veteran tries to hold off attacks by a number of terrorists and resistance fighters. What in the world? Star Wars. That was Star Wars. And I just couldn't stop laughing. And then, so there's a whole bunch of these things that I've been finding now of different sort of interpretations of Star Wars and how you would describe that for a television guidebook. And some of them are ridiculous, but if you get a chance, please look into those. Riri says, I'm going to use a light box and have at a portrait of my current cat. A light plate? Light box is the traditional term that they're called. I used the same light box, Riri, for 26 years before I gave it to my oldest grandkid. And it was a box because we used to fit a light bulb with inside of a box. And now, because of our advances of technology, this is an 11 by 17 plate, per se. It's very thin. I don't know if I can get the thinness of it into, but you can see that the thickness of these is very small. And of course, the press button is on the side here, and it tags into a charger unit that mounts to the wall. But this is 12 by 18 inches. And it's ruled on the sides in case you're not sure about how many centimeters that could be. But it's like I've never used it for anything other than that. But as a light table goes, I can put a drawing down and put another drawing over top and transfer that through. There are fantastic amounts of different uses that you can get out of one of those. And so sitting down with the photo image, if you want, and stenciling that with a piece of paper over top of the photograph and having the light project from underneath may well expedite your ability to put images down on paper that you might not feel confident, comfortable, or prepared to spend the time it needs to take to really learn how to draw cat face. You can do those with a light table. And not to say that there's anything that diminishes you as an illustrator or as an artist by using a light table. There are great benefits to do that. But a light table makes available for you to make those corrections or those perspective adjustments, those proportion adjustments that you might feel are somewhere lacking in your work. So light tables are great, you know. So, you know, I used the same, this little tiny sucker for years and years and years. And because for me, it's sort of a, hey, let's just draw everything, because I couldn't be bothered getting out the light table. So I sort of forced myself to have to figure out how to draw stuff. So there's a lot of bad drawings for a long time. And there still are. But having that light table to facilitate, I've done this drawing on this piece of paper, and I don't like this part, and it's such a mess that I've made out of it. How can I continue to work on this without losing the whole thing? Take that section that you've now made an error on, hold another piece of paper over top of it with your light table, make those corrections to that specific part of the image, you know, do it in the way that you wanted it to be done, cut that out because you've already got it scaled so that it fits the larger drawing. So cut it out and adhere it to the other drawing over top of the erroneous portion. And, well, you know, but then I got a paper on top of my, so what? You've got a drawing that you've been working on and you haven't lost it. And sometimes that modulation of surface becomes interesting and compelling in your drawing. So it's something like, that's the thing about me putting tape in things. Those modulations of surface, about putting Post-its down or other pieces of paper. I've just primed a bunch of surfaces to paint. And so here is a canvas, which looks in some ways like it's just a white piece of surface. But if I can get it under here and it picks it up, okay, it does it, great. So this is Post-its and cardstock and things like that I've put into the surface of the canvas. And I do that. And the reason that I do that is that it gives me a different structural surface to work on. And it allows me to invest in this sort of modulated surface. But, you know, it's just my way of approaching it. And there's no preciousness to the surface now. Please don't fall on my head. Okay, I was talking to that. Jim is writing things here I've missed. I'm sorry for that. I just talked to Leanne. She wanted me to tell you it was fun talking with you last night. Should I be super jealous now? Yes, because I enjoy chatting with her too. Riri says, I had a box too. Nice. So you had a box, now you're working on a light plate, like similar to the one I think. I think light plate kind of works, but calling it a light box still, it's not wafer, like paper thin, so it's still technically a boxed light. Those that don't know, we had a really good conversation off air. Yeah, the exclusive content of doing the proper technique for how to make noises from. No, we didn't. We didn't talk about that. So, So I think that. Let me think about this for a second before I just start moving into the second image. So we've got the first panel of our guy at the conversation or at the concierge desk that for people to come and talk to. So this is good fun. I'm trying to keep up. Sorry, just give me a second here. Oh, hi, it's Chris. We've got Chris on board. Hi, Christopher. Hi, everyone. Here at school giving the final writing exam. Your last day is Monday, July 10th. 2 days, Chris. 2 days. You're going to get through it. Friday and Monday. You got it. And then, boy, oh boy. Final writing exam on Monday. Then you got the grading period. I know, but, you know, pretty soon you're going to have a little bit of stretch time for you to do some really fantastic color work. And if you get a chance, please check out Chris's Instagram or I think you've got some stuff on YouTube here as well. I'm not sure. I tend to primarily see your work on Instagram, and I love it. Great coloring stuff. Check out Chris's stuff, Jim's stuff, Riri's stuff, Jane's stuff, all the names that are on the screen, and anybody else that's jumping in here on the stream that I might have missed. Gary, I know has said some things. That's why I use different types of old paper in my backgrounds. You get some lovely textures and happy coincidence from that. Yeah, there's absolutely something to be said for that. Some of the stuff that was in a stamp swap that I took part in recently with a number of people that are in the stream and outside the stream, there's some patterns that were in those stamps that were swapped amongst all these other creators, and as well as some images. And I've already incorporated some of those into a page. I did a page recently about sushi, and it was a 3-prompt page about submarines, sushi, and lemurs. And so I even incorporated one of Dee Dee's lemur stickers into it. And I waited until, because she had sent me a lemur sticker, I waited until it arrived in the mail before I did that page. So it was a lot of fun. But a number of those stamp elements were incorporated into the backgrounds, were incorporated as textures for some of the imagery, as well as some of the images themselves. There's a person looking through binoculars, binoculars, I know, that I suggested, hey, keep an eye out there and let me tell you the real way that sushi's being made. And my description, of course, was that it's being produced by lemurs and submarines, which is typical Christopher logic. But it was a fun page to do, but I was afforded the opportunity to do that because of these different pieces of surface. I've shown on the stream here some of these papers that I've picked up, some of these card stocks that you can find at places like the Wall of Marks. And, it looks like it's already been tie-dyed or type-looking surfaces of color. And it's fun. I've drawn a few different one-page stories on those. And so if you can find things like that, jump on them. Jane, you using these different surfaces and textures and stuff like that in your work is fantastic. It really is fantastic. And it brings out stuff through your work that way that I don't think other people are going to get a hold of. And they might look at your work and go, how does she do this magic? And that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun because these other creators get to look at your work as an example, if you don't mind, and say, how did they go about that? Similar in the way that there's textures and approaches that Chris Chloe takes here, and how she does her coloring work, her illustrative work, and there's techniques that she has in her approach specifically for me, not just the other work that she does, specifically for me, metallics. How those metallics are represented that make me go, hey, how did they do that? How did they make that picture that way? And don't take for granted from a creator standpoint of anything that anybody else you might meet does, because there's always going to be some approach to it, to their work that you're going to look at and go, I see something in that. And that's kind of the goal a lot of times in the expression of our work and how other people connect to it, that we want them to find something that makes them go, hey, and that's fun. That's really fun. And I feel fortunate when somebody goes, hey, I like the way you use the color green. I'll take it. I know that they're referring in something in the application. And that's nice that they've taken a moment to look for that. So it's great if you can find that in anybody else's work. That's why I say check out the work that everybody here is doing, because there really are some gifts in that. I can feel my blood sugar going down, so that's why I'm having a cookie. So I apologize. Chris says that they're going to be updating their Instagram tomorrow. You don't have classes tomorrow, so it's just Monday, and that's that? Oh, that's excellent. That is excellent. enjoy today. And because Monday, easy like Sunday morning, right? Jane says, thank you. Hey, you're welcome. And thank everybody for sharing their work. I mean that. It sounds like such a superficial thing. But thank everybody for sharing their work, A, and B, for this networking, this engagement that we have with one another. You know, having that as the title of what I'm going to chat about today is I love the authenticity. I really do. And I love the unique work. I really, really enjoyed being able to chat with Jim on his stream last night. And you'll find that video on his channel. But I really enjoyed the opportunity to do that because I really enjoy having had the opportunity to have met everybody here. Yes, but you know, it's in this specific instance of having the opportunity to meet a unique animator who's producing films with his own voice, and he approaches them in his own way. And having the opportunity to have met him, and another example from the people here, like Gary Hodges and what he's doing with his DVSM book, and the very specific and clear style that people approach their work with is great, because you're going to see stuff in there and consider its application for yourself that you might not have, right? Give me 1 second. I'm just going to grab something. Talk amongst yourselves. Here's a topic. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt. Just want to get a candy. So I'm not munching on cookies while we're chatting. But it, you know, helps me with my blood sugar. So, and I'm type 1 diabetic, in case people didn't know. That's why the whole topic of my blood sugar comes up from time to time. Shin of the day, let's call it a question. Please search down deep within your soul and tell me how you really feel about the metric system. And so I'll take a moment and just do that, just for Jim, just for Jim's soul, just for Jim's soul. Search deep within our own. How do we really feel about the metric system? I'll start this conversation. You're wrong. You're just wrong. That's in case Josh Kimball is listening. That's for him. You're just wrong about the metric system, and I'm going to take the alternate viewpoint. Josh likes to do that. He likes to say, I'm going to take the opposite viewpoint from you just because I can. So, what do we got? Easier to divide by 10 than 12, Jim. Thank you, Jane. It is easier to divide by 10 than 12. That's true. It's interesting to me when we're talking about mathematics with the kids, and you're trying to get kids to do division. It's fantastic to me how challenging it is for kids when they reach 11. 1 times 1 is this. They've managed to overcome the hurdles of what is 8 times 8. They've managed to overcome the hurdles of the randomness of 9. 1 times 9 is 9. 2 times 9 is 18. And I try to explain things about systemics. Anything that you're timesing by 9, so 9, let's 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. It's just up 10 minus 1, and I'll tell them things like that. And they think it's ridiculous until they look at it on paper and go, wait a minute, he's on to something here. I've gone through 2 different generations of teaching kids numbers like that and in my own family. And once you find out those sneaks, they're great. But the whole difference of metric and imperial, nonsensical, completely nonsensical. Something about them 12s. It's far easier to multiply things by 10s and 12s. It's completely baffling to children. That Jim Luan, he's a good egg. Start rumors like that, Gary, people are going to start believing you. Chris says that tons of grading, but I'll do it at the pool with my nieces tomorrow. I need to go. Bye, Chris. Thanks for coming out. And Monday's going to be great. At the end of Monday, I know you got the grading and stuff still to do from that, but then you're on to your own time. Chris, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, is a teacher and had actually brought her class on the stream here to chat with us a few weeks ago about creativity in your day-to-day life. And many of her students in writing, she teaches English and writing, and many of her students, doctors and I don't know, dentists. And so they were here talking about creativity in their day-to-day world with us. And that was kind of fun and a really genuinely enjoyable thing to do. So thank you for doing that. And Riri says, bye, Chris. Have a great weekend. And if you don't stop by tomorrow, because it sounds like you're going to be at the pool. Gary says, I do genuinely think our America's, as I like to call it, America's rejection of the metric system is just bizarre. I think the Band-Aid has to come off and think they should start teaching it like yesterday. I think it would be really beneficial for people in the United States to be able to understand the system of measurement the rest of the planet uses. Just saying. And Kat says, I like foreign rulers. We do two funny things in Canada here. And I know this for a fact, specifically to our rulers and specifically to our language. In Canada, we have two primary languages, and that is English and French, right? And so all of our street signs have English and French on many of them. A lot of our literature that is published here in Canada has English and French. When you do publishing in BC inside of a book that you've produced, that specific legal language is published in English and in French primarily. And it's because we have two languages with a large percentage of our populations that speak those, because the population of Ontario and Quebec is larger than the majority of the population in the rest of the country. That's changing now. So I think that maybe this won't change in the future. But we also have centimeters and inches on all of our rulers. And I've seen a great deal of rulers that have one or the other on them. But all rulers that are produced in Canada have both. And the reason that they have both is because of the proximity of our American neighbors and the fact that we can sell our rulers to them as well. I don't know about that for other places. I really don't. But in North America here, I know that we produce all our rulers in Canada this way. So Gary says, or Kat says, thank you, Kat, for that. Gary says, right? Base 12. What lunatic came up with that? There's a scene in a Die Hard movie, of all things, because let's be honest, Bruce Willis films, not a lot of thinking, but there's a Die Hard movie where they have to, the closet is, they have to measure the volumes of these jugs according to the American Standard Measurement. For how do you get the volume of this jug to be filled up by two other jugs. And the reason that the criminals have put this problem in front of the pursuing police officer that has somebody with him in order to cause his life to be a degree of turmoil because of the threat to his family, I think it is. I was completely baffled by that, not knowing the American measurement system any further than our rulers. So I looked into it after that. So if there's one thing that I will thank two actors that I tend not to enjoy their performances, and that is Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson, I will thank them for that, because watching them in the Die Hard franchise forced me to have to completely learn your ridiculous system of measurement in the United States being different than everyone else's. There's nothing wrong with your measurement system. It's just that the rest of the world says, I'm going to go this way instead. It's not just the rest of the world, but any serious person in the United States, engineers, scientists, the militaries, etc., Again, most people in those fields in Canada learn both for a reason. And that's because you Americans have to be obstinate. I mean, I'm sorry, different. Basically, the only people to marry the base 12 are American normies who don't need to measure anything meaningful. That's Gary's assertion. It's not, yes. It's not so much that as it is. It's something that you guys specifically did. It just didn't take with everybody else. Everybody else was going the British way. And that has an awful lot to do with the fact that British colonies, whether conquered and forced into having to work their way or colonized by the British government and adopting their measure because of governance and the presentation of those methods by being from the colonies. That's why it took off everywhere else, because America has a different platform than every pre-existing major world power for how they work with other countries that they have, for better or not a way of saying it, conquered. You adapt and manipulate as a major world power, as opposed to every other world power before you that conquers and forces to adapt to their way. So that's the difference. That's why your system of measurement hasn't taken a hold around the world, because of that policy, that difference in policy. If you had done that, everybody would be using your measurement system. But you didn't. You did so from behind the scenes. So that is the benefits of being an absolute monster on the surface. Isn't that a terrible thing to say? Rulers in the U.S. are the same as ours. Are they all entirely? They don't just do their system only? Is it because they're admitting to the fact that their system in and of itself still has to adapt to the other? Interesting. Thank you for that information, Riri. Thank you for that. I'm having this for a moment. Admit to yourselves, it's got to be a lot of fun watching a gorilla-sized person drink a little juice box. Here's a great sentence. I feel like the U.S. treated the metric system like Esperanto. Absolutely fantastic. If you don't know what that reference is for, I implore you to please look it up. I implore you to. That's a fantastic statement that Jim's made. Gary says something interesting here. By the way, not that Jim wasn't. That's clearly equally interesting to me. But Gary says, by the way, it's 112 in the American system, which is an insane number. Or it's 44 degrees Celsius to the rest of the world in Phoenix, Arizona, where Gary lives. That is a fantastic reason, Gary, for you and your partner to get in your car and come and visit my wife and I in our guest room. Because that is crazy town to me. Absolute crazy town. I'm sorry, but there's no reason to live in a place that's 44 degrees if you can apply those skills in a different place that doesn't have 44 degrees where you live. Aside from family and loved ones and connections and engagements and responsibilities and obligations, of course. There's a way to move all your people, do it. I'm just saying. It's terribly unfair, but I'm still saying it. Rulers here have both, because a serious person, an engineer, an architect, a scientist, etc., might have to buy a ruler. I legitimately thought it was a Canadian thing. I know that all our ruler makers here, all the companies that I know are Canadian that make rulers, do so with both, but I didn't realize it was entirely in North America. That's like conceding defeat, Americans. I'm just saying, it's like conceding defeat. we were doing it for you to capitalize sales to you, but you guys doing it as well is like conceding defeat to the fact that you're a ruler and your metric is it, are you metric or are we metric? I can't remember now because I just gave up years ago on that. But I don't learn Fahrenheit, and I didn't use your system of measurement as a principle except for construction. What about 9 millimeters and 5 grams? Aren't they American measurements too? They are, but we don't acknowledge that. We don't acknowledge that. I am absolutely crossing my arms and holding my breath that we don't acknowledge the American system so they can just jump on board with the rest of us, which of course would mean the rest of us are going to have to learn the differences ourselves, right? Millimeters and grams as recipe measurements. Now, let me think about this for a second, because I have to read carbs on things. This is a real deal. I'm sorry for those of you that just tune into art. It's not always just drawing here. And I can put up some fun images if that helps those people. I don't mind doing that. I have fun images. Here is an image of Jim Luhan and his friend Neeson's album, The Illegal Casino. Check it out. It's on YouTube. You can also look up Fake Explosion. That's the channel that has all of Jim's original music if you're looking for some fun stuff to hear. Or you can go and find something to eat with Bob's House of Fish. We stay open late for the halibut. There's some visual images for you. What else we got? Hey, look at that handsome buck. And I think there's an advert for the last book. There you go. There's something to look at. Gary says, Cat, that was always weird to me growing up with guns. This is a 9 millimeter, but that's a 44. What are we doing? Okay, carbs. So, for one package, 200 milliliters, there are 23 carbs in a juice box. So when my blood sugar goes low, and it's immediate acting, by the way. So when my blood sugar goes low, I can do one of two things, and I've done both. I can drink a juice, an apple juice, and that immediate carb intake goes into my system and elevates my blood sugar so that I'm healthy and happy. And I don't feel lethargic or dizzy. And if a diabetic's blood sugar goes too low, you can go into a coma. So, or I have a candy, and the sugar that's in a candy is immediately acting. And so I have to count those as those carbs in grams, right? And so that having to do those things in grams, and they're only listed as grams, and they're only listed in milliliters, you're right, it's an active thing, right? So it's kind of, yeah, we have to consign to that anyway. So I think it's really a North American thing that we value these things in both measurements at the same time. So like all construction work, you tend to look at as the foot. You tend to look at as the inch when you're measuring and cutting wood. Heights in North America, we say our heights in inches, right? And it's an interesting thing right? Other parts of the world, they say somebody's this many centimeters. I'm 198 centimeters, right? And that's a weird number to have to look at as math. How much does that actually mean? So I think I'm 198. I honestly can't tell you I have to actually physically go with a ruler and calculate it, which is really pathetic. So yeah, that's really fun. This has been a fun side conversation. What else were we chatting about? again, and this applies to all the people here. Please go and look at Cat and Pace's work. Please do so, and because I really appreciate the fact that so many talented individuals are engaging on this stream together. So it's in accordance to the topic today of how to network with others. I like who you are. Be who you are. I think that it's really exciting to me. I'm not very good. I don't quite understand the social platforms enough that I can only see the pages. I've learned it on Instagram that if you tap the Instagram icon at the top of your feed, whether it's with a mouse or with your finger on the phone, then it'll only show you the people you're following. But even still then, you have to rotate through. And if you have somebody who is posting 18 things a day, it gets hard to see everybody else's. But, I try to do that as best I can and to give people the like button. But it's so great to be able to see so many other people's work. Here comes that Jim guy again. Jim says, my backup question was going to be, what are your thoughts on Taco Bell? I don't know. Lori hates Taco Bell. There's no chance of me telling you what Taco Bell tastes like because, my partner and I tend to eat meals together and there's no interest in going to Taco Bell. So I will never make a run for that border. Hey? Yeah. Okay, here's my plan. I'm going to outline my plan, and I think we might wrap up for today. I really appreciate everybody tuning in, and I fully intend to do my best to try to razzle-dazzle you with this page. But could the owner of card license plate XXXX please come to the front desk is today's suggestion. And so what this affords me is the opportunity to have a number of different individuals, characters, to come up to the desk and having misheard the number. Or for whatever situational unawareness they might have. Did you say my name? No, we didn't, sir. Oh, okay, thanks. So I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun drawing that. And I will have this posted for tomorrow. I do need to step away, though, because I've got some things I got to get done. And I am going to send the stuff to my publisher tonight. So wish us luck. Okay? In the meantime, I look forward to seeing what everybody's doing. And I truly, honestly mean that. And if you want to tell people what you're doing and there's not enough time left in the chat, don't feel like you have to hurriedly type it. Feel free to put it in the comments. That's, open space to friends. There's nothing wrong. That's what real networking is. That's what is engaging with yourself authentically and having the awareness of interacting and sharing with those people on platforms. One more thing from Gary. About once every couple months, I have a craving and nothing but a taco, crispy taco, bean burrito, and cinnamon twist will satisfy it. Yeah, it completely. I completely get it. I like tacos, but we make tacos at home, so I never get to experience the Chihuahua making my sandwiches. I think that's how it works. He's in all the commercials. Okay, Jim says, great chat. See you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I'm really interested in seeing what people are working on, and feel free to let anybody know how they can reach out and contact you and chat with you in the comments below. Like, thumb, subscribe, hey, all those things. And I will be back at 2 o'clock EST tomorrow, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.